Tonight, we're going to ask the most human of all questions. It's a question that has echoed through every civilization that ever looked up at the night sky. It's whispered by children lying in grass on summer nights, pondered by philosophers across millennia, and pursued with rigor by scientists pointing their instruments toward distant stars. The question is simple, profound, and perhaps unanswerable. Look up on a clear night, away from the city lights. Find a place where the sky opens up, where light pollution doesn't drown out the fainter stars. You'll see thousands of points of light scattered across the darkness like diamond dust on black velvet. Each one of those pinpoints is a sun, burning with nuclear fire, pouring energy into the cosmos. And we now know that most of them have planets circling in their gravitational embrace. Think about that for a moment. Those aren't just distant lights. And around them, like our own solar system, planets dance in orbital patterns established billions of years ago. Rocky worlds close to their stars, scorched and barren. Gas giants farther out, massive and swirling. Ice worlds in the outer darkness, frozen but perhaps harboring secrets beneath their surfaces. Some of those planets orbit in the habitable zone, that perfect distance where temperatures allow water to exist as a liquid on the surface. Not too close to the star, where heat would boil the oceans away. Not too far, where everything freezes solid. Just right, in that narrow band where life as we know it could potentially take hold. And on some of those worlds, perhaps, in oceans or pools or underground aquifers, chemistry has experimented long enough to cross the threshold from the inanimate to the living. The possibility is intoxicating. Somewhere out there, orbiting a star whose light hasn't yet reached Earth, there might be life. Perhaps it's simple, single cells dividing and consuming and reproducing in an endless cycle. Perhaps it's more complex, ecosystems of interacting species, predator and prey, competition and cooperation. Perhaps, just perhaps, some of it has evolved intelligence, built civilizations, developed technology, and is looking back at us across the light years, wondering the same thing we wonder. The universe is vast beyond our ability to truly comprehend. Our Milky Way galaxy alone contains somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars. That's more stars in our single galaxy than there are grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. And beyond our galaxy, there are trillions more galaxies, each with billions of stars of their own. The numbers become so large they lose meaning, transforming into abstract symbols rather than quantities we can grasp. With all that cosmic real estate, with all those suns and all those worlds, it seems almost absurd that we might be alone. The mathematics alone suggests that life should be common, perhaps even abundant. Intelligence might arise on countless worlds, civilizations might flourish among the stars, and yet, when we listen, when we search, when we scan the heavens with our most sensitive instruments, we hear only silence. This silence is itself a mystery, one we'll explore as our journey tonight unfolds. But first, we need to understand what life actually is, what it requires, and where we might find it. We need to know the recipe before we can search for the dish. Tonight's exploration will take us from the fundamental chemistry that makes life possible to the exotic ocean worlds hiding in the outer reaches of our own solar system. We'll venture into the realm of biochemistries we can barely imagine, consider the decades-long search for signals from distant civilizations, and confront the haunting question of why the universe seems so quiet. It's a journey from the molecular to the cosmic, from certainty to profound mystery. So settle in, let the concerns of the day fade away. We're about to embark on one of humanity's greatest adventures, the search for life beyond Earth. Whether we find it or not, whether we're alone or accompanied, the search itself reveals something beautiful about who we are and what it means to be alive in this strange and wonderful universe. Before we can search for life elsewhere, we need to understand what life actually needs. What are the fundamental ingredients, the non-negotiable requirements that allow chemistry to cross that mysterious threshold from the inanimate to the living? On Earth, all life, from the simplest bacterium to the complexity of a human brain, shares a common chemical foundation. Scientists have an acronym for the key elements: CHNOPS, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These 6 elements combine in intricate ways to build the molecules that life depends on: proteins, nucleic acids, carbohydrates, and lipids. Together, these molecular families create the machinery of life itself. But why these elements? Why carbon in particular? Carbon is special, almost magical in its versatility. An atom of carbon has 4 electrons in its outer shell, meaning it can form 4 bonds with other atoms. This gives carbon an extraordinary ability to link together in long chains, branching structures, and complex rings. It's like having a construction material that can connect in 4 different directions simultaneously. Carbon atoms bond readily to other carbon atoms, creating the backbone for molecules of stunning complexity and variety. Think of it this way: carbon can form molecules with just a few atoms, or molecules with millions of atoms, all intricately connected in 3-dimensional architectures of exquisite precision. This versatility means that carbon-based chemistry can create the intricate, information-rich structures that life requires. DNA and RNA, the molecules that store and transmit genetic information, are built on carbon backbones. Every protein in your body, every enzyme that catalyzes the chemical reactions keeping you alive right now, is a carbon-based molecule. Hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant element in the universe, pairs with carbon constantly. Oxygen enables energy-releasing reactions and forms part of water, that essential solvent. Nitrogen is crucial for amino acids and the nucleotides of DNA and RNA. Phosphorus links together the backbone of genetic material and forms the energy currency molecule ATP. Sulfur appears in certain amino acids and helps proteins fold into their functional shapes. These elements are cosmically abundant. They're created in the hearts of stars and scattered across space when those stars die. They're found in gas clouds, in meteorites, on planets. They're everywhere. The raw materials for life, at least life as we know it, are not rare. They're woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. But elements alone aren't enough. You need a solvent, a medium in which these elements can dissolve, interact, and form complex molecules. On Earth, that solvent is water. Water is remarkable. It's a simple molecule, just 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to 1 oxygen atom, but its properties are extraordinary. Water is polar, meaning one end of the molecule has a slight positive charge and the other end has a slight negative charge. This polarity allows water to dissolve an astonishing variety of substances: salts, sugars, amino acids, nucleotides, all dissolve in water, creating a chemical soup in which reactions can occur. Water's properties go beyond being a good solvent. It remains liquid across a relatively wide temperature range, from 0 to 100 degrees Celsius at Earth's atmospheric pressure. This liquid range provides a stable environment where complex chemistry can unfold. Water conducts heat well, preventing dangerous temperature fluctuations. It has high surface tension, allowing it to form droplets and membranes. And crucially, water expands when it freezes, making ice less dense than liquid water. This means ice floats, preventing bodies of water from freezing solid from the bottom up and allowing life to persist even in cold climates. In water, molecules can bump into each other, react, separate, and react again. It's a medium for chemical dynamism. But even with the right elements and the right solvent, life needs energy. Without energy, nothing happens. The universe tends toward entropy, toward disorder and stillness. Life fights against this tendency, building order from chaos, but only by constantly consuming energy. On Earth's surface, the primary energy source is obvious: the sunday. Sunlight drives photosynthesis, the process by which plants, algae, and certain bacteria capture light energy and use it to build sugars from carbon dioxide and water. These sugars become food for organisms that can't photosynthesize, and energy flows through the ecosystem in an intricate web of consumption and transformation. But there's another source of energy, one that doesn't depend on sunlight at all. In 1977, scientists exploring the deep ocean floor made a discovery that revolutionized our understanding of where life could exist. They found hydrothermal vents, places where seawater seeps into cracks in the ocean floor, gets heated by magma deep below, and then erupts back into the cold ocean water, carrying dissolved minerals and chemicals. Around these vents, in the pitch darkness where no sunlight ever penetrates, they found thriving ecosystems. Strange tube worms, blind crabs, and clusters of mussels lived in abundance. And at the base of this ecosystem were bacteria that didn't photosynthesize. Instead, they performed chemosynthesis, using the chemical energy in compounds like hydrogen sulfide to build organic molecules. This discovery was profound. It meant life didn't need the sunday. It could draw energy from chemical gradients, from the planet's own geothermal heat. Anywhere you had water, the right chemistry, and a source of energy, life might find a way. The origin of life on Earth remains mysterious, one of the most profound questions in all of science. We can study geology and chemistry, analyze ancient rocks, and build computer models, but the exact sequence of events that led from non-living chemistry to the first living cell remains hidden in deep time, obscured by billions of years. What we do know is fascinating. In 1952, a young graduate student named Stanley Miller at the University of Chicago was working with his advisor, Harold Urey, a Nobel Prize-winning chemist. They wanted to test a hypothesis about how life might have begun on the early Earth. At the time, scientists thought Earth's early atmosphere was very different from today's atmosphere, likely composed of reducing gases like methane, ammonia, and hydrogen with little or no free oxygen. Miller and Urey designed an elegant experiment. They created a sealed glass apparatus containing water to represent the ocean, and a mixture of methane, ammonia, and hydrogen to represent the atmosphere. They heated the water to create water vapor, which rose into the atmosphere chamber. Then they sparked electrical discharges through the gas mixture, simulating lightning storms that would have been common on the turbulent early Earth. The gases would react, and any products would dissolve in the water vapor, condense, and flow back down into the ocean. Miller ran the experiment continuously for about a week. As the days passed, he noticed the water in the flask beginning to change color. It turned yellowish, then pink. When he finally stopped the experiment and analyzed the water, the results were stunning. The water contained amino acids, not just one or two, but several different kinds, including glycine and alanine, which are among the simplest and most common amino acids used by life on Earth. These are the building blocks of proteins, the workhorses of biochemistry, and they had formed spontaneously from simple inorganic molecules and energy in just a few days. The Miller-Urey experiment became one of the most famous experiments in the history of science. It demonstrated that organic molecules, the precursors to life, can arise naturally from simple chemistry under conditions that might have existed on the early Earth. You didn't need divine intervention or mysterious vital forces. You just needed the right starting materials, energy, and time. Of course, the story is more complex than it first appeared. In the decades since Miller's experiment, scientists have revised their understanding of Earth's early atmosphere. We now think it probably wasn't as reducing as Miller assumed. It likely contained more carbon dioxide and nitrogen, less methane and ammonia. The atmosphere was probably dominated by volcanic outgassing, with carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor, and small amounts of methane and other gases. But when scientists repeated Miller-type experiments using these more realistic atmospheric compositions, they still got organic molecules, though sometimes different ones and in different amounts. The fundamental insight held: complex organic chemistry emerges naturally from simple starting materials when energy is applied. Subsequent research has revealed amino acids and other organic compounds in meteorites, suggesting that the building blocks of life form naturally in space as well. They've been detected in comets, in the gas clouds between stars, even in the atmospheres of other planets and moons. The raw materials for life aren't rare. They're woven into the cosmos itself, created wherever the right conditions exist. Many scientists now think life might have originated at hydrothermal vents on the ancient ocean floor. There, you had water, dissolved minerals providing chemical nutrients, and energy in the form of heat and chemical disequilibrium. The porous mineral structures around the vents could have provided compartments where chemical reactions could become concentrated and complex. In those tiny spaces, chemistry could have gradually become biochemistry, and biochemistry could have eventually become life. The earliest life on Earth arose quickly, geologically speaking. Earth formed about 4.54 billion years ago, based on radiometric dating of ancient meteorites. For the first few 100 million years, it was a hellish place, bombarded by asteroids, covered in molten rock, utterly inhospitable. But by about 4.3 billion years ago, evidence suggests conditions may have become suitable for life. By 3.8 billion years ago, liquid water almost certainly existed. And by 3.5 billion years ago, we have fossil evidence of microbial life preserved in ancient rocks. That's a remarkably short time for such a complex transition. It suggests that when conditions are right, when you have liquid water, organic chemistry, and energy, life might not be a rare fluke. It might be almost inevitable. This is the recipe we know: carbon-based molecules, liquid water, energy, time. It's worked spectacularly on Earth, producing a biosphere of stunning diversity and complexity. Millions of species have evolved, adapted, and thrived. From bacteria in boiling hot springs to fish in the deepest ocean trenches, from plants on mountain peaks to insects in desert sands, life has claimed every possible niche on this planet. But here's the essential question: is this the only recipe? Must life be carbon-based? Must it use water? Must it look anything like what we're familiar with? We'll explore those questions soon. But first, let's venture to some worlds in our own solar system where this familiar recipe, carbon and water and energy, might be playing out right now. Beneath ice and across strange oceans, we're only beginning to understand. Jupiter is the giant of our solar system, a massive ball of gas containing more than twice the mass of all the other planets combined. It has dozens of moons, and the four largest, discovered by Galileo in 1610, are worlds unto themselves. One of them, Europa, might be the most promising place beyond Earth to find life. Europa is slightly smaller than Earth's moon, but don't let its size fool you. Beneath its icy surface lies something extraordinary: a global ocean of liquid water containing more than twice as much water as all of Earth's oceans combined. The surface of Europa is striking, one of the most geologically fascinating landscapes in the solar system. A cracked expanse of ice that looks almost alien in its geometric patterns. Long, dark lines, called lineae, crisscross the surface in chaotic networks, some hundreds of kilometers long. These aren't random cracks. They're fractures in the ice shell, places where the ice has been stressed and broken by the tidal forces from Jupiter and the movement of the ocean beneath. In some regions, the ice appears to have broken apart and refrozen, like pack ice on an Arctic sea. Sections of the crust seem to have rotated, shifted position, and locked back into place, creating jigsaw puzzle patterns of ice blocks. Scientists call these regions chaos terrain, and they're exactly as chaotic as the name suggests. The surface is young too, relatively free of impact craters. Most surfaces in the solar system are heavily cratered, scarred by billions of years of asteroid and comet impacts. But Europa's surface shows few craters, suggesting it's been recently resurfaced, renewed by activity from below. The estimated age of most of the surface is only 40 to 90 million years, incredibly young in geological terms. This constant renewal tells us something profound. The surface is active. Something beneath is reshaping it, and that something is water. The ocean beneath is moving, convecting, perhaps erupting through cracks to resurface the ice above. This is not a dead, frozen world. It's geologically alive. The ice shell itself is a subject of intense study. How thick is it? The estimates vary, but most scientists think it's between 15 and 25 kilometers thick on average. That might sound like a lot, but in planetary terms, it's remarkably thin. The Earth's crust, by comparison, is 5 to 70 kilometers thick, and beneath Europa's ice lies an ocean potentially 60 to 150 kilometers deep. If you scaled Europa down to the size of a basketball, the ice shell would be thinner than a few sheets of paper. Beneath that relatively thin ice lies more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. The ocean appears to be global, completely surrounding Europa's rocky core. Based on gravitational measurements and models of the moon's interior, scientists estimate it could be anywhere from 40 to 100 miles deep, perhaps 60 to 150 kilometers. The evidence suggests it's salty, likely similar in composition to Earth's oceans, which would explain the magnetic field signatures detected by the Galileo spacecraft. The ocean exists in complete darkness, utterly devoid of sunlight. At those depths, beneath kilometers of ice, no photon from the sun has penetrated for billions of years. It's perpetual night, a darkness more absolute than anything we experience on Earth. Yet darkness doesn't mean sterility. On Earth, we've discovered thriving ecosystems in eternal darkness, in the deep ocean, far from any sunlight, living around hydrothermal vents and sustained purely by chemical energy. Europa's ocean might host similar ecosystems. The ingredients are there, the conditions are right, and there's been time, billions of years of time, for life to begin and evolve. How do we know there's an ocean under the ice? The evidence is compelling. In the 1,990 seconds and early 2000s, during these passes, instruments measured Europa's magnetic field, or more precisely, the way Europa responded to Jupiter's enormous magnetic field. What they found was revealing. Europa has a magnetic field that varies as the moon orbits Jupiter. This variation suggests the presence of an electrically conductive layer inside Europa. What could be conductive? Salt water. An ocean of salt water would generate exactly the kind of magnetic signature Galileo detected. It was indirect evidence, to be sure, but it was strong. Europa had an ocean. Later observations added more support. The Hubble Space Telescope detected what appeared to be plumes of water vapor erupting from Europa's surface, similar to geysers but shooting into the vacuum of space. If water is breaking through the ice, it suggests the ocean below is active and perhaps not too far beneath the surface. The ice shell covering Europa's ocean is estimated to be somewhere between 10 and 15 miles thick, which translates to roughly 15 to 25 kilometers. That might sound substantial, but in planetary terms, it's remarkably thin. Beneath it lies an ocean that could be 60 to 150 kilometers deep. Imagine a global ocean deeper than any ocean on Earth, wrapped around an entire moon, kept liquid despite being so far from the sunday. How does the water stay liquid? Jupiter's immense gravity creates tidal forces on Europa. As Europa orbits Jupiter in an elliptical path, the gravitational pull varies, slightly stretching and squeezing the moon. This tidal flexing generates heat through friction. It's the same principle that makes a wire coat hanger hot if you bend it back and forth repeatedly. Europa's interior flexes and heats, keeping the ocean liquid despite the moon's surface temperature being around -160 degrees Celsius. This tidal heating might do more than keep water liquid. Scientists think it could drive hydrothermal activity on Europa's rocky seafloor, though this hasn't been directly observed. The reasoning is compelling. Just as Earth has hydrothermal vents in its oceans, Europa's similar conditions, a water ocean in contact with a rocky floor, internal heat from tidal flexing suggests such features could exist there too. If they do, water seeping through cracks in the seafloor rock could react with minerals, creating chemical nutrients. Hot water laden with hydrogen, methane, and other compounds could pour into the cold ocean, creating chemical gradients and energy sources. Does Europa have life? But it has the ingredients: liquid water, organic compounds detected in spectra of the surface, and potential energy sources from both tidal heating and possible hydrothermal systems. It has had billions of years for chemistry to experiment, to complexify, perhaps to become biology. The ocean is in contact with a rocky seafloor, which is crucial. Earth's ocean worlds that have oceans beneath ice, like Jupiter's moons, Ganymede and Callisto, might have layers of high-pressure ice between their oceans and their rocky cores. That would isolate the water from rock, cutting off a source of minerals and chemical nutrients. But Europa's ocean appears to touch rock. Water and rock can interact, enabling the kind of chemistry that might support life. Europa's surface also offers tantalizing possibilities. The surface ice contains salts and possibly organic materials. There are hints of oxygen being produced as radiation from Jupiter splits water molecules on the surface. Some of this oxygen might make its way into the ocean below through cracks and through the slow churning of the ice. This could provide another potential energy source for life. Scientists have studied Earth's own subsurface oceans for clues about what Europa might be like. In Antarctica, beneath hundreds of meters of ice, lies Lake Vostok, a liquid water lake that has been sealed off from the surface for millions of years. When scientists drilled down and sampled the water, they found it was not sterile. Microbes lived in that dark, isolated environment, sustained by chemical nutrients and energy from the rock below. If life can exist in Lake Vostok, might it exist in Europa's ocean? NASA launched a mission called Europa Clipper in October 2024. The spacecraft is now on its way to Jupiter and will arrive in the early 2030 seconds. The spacecraft won't orbit Europa directly because the radiation environment around Jupiter is intense and would damage electronics quickly. Instead, it will orbit Jupiter and make dozens of close flybys of Europa, studying the ice shell, mapping the surface, measuring the ocean's depth and salinity, and searching for plumes of water erupting from the surface. If plumes are active, the spacecraft might fly through them, sampling the water directly. This would be extraordinary. Without needing to drill through kilometers of ice, we could taste Europa's ocean, analyzing its chemistry and searching for organic molecules, or even more ambitiously, for signs of life itself. What would life in Europa's ocean be like? If it exists, it's probably microbial, single-celled organisms, perhaps similar to the bacteria around Earth's hydrothermal vents. They would live in eternal darkness, never knowing sunlight exists. Their energy would come from chemistry alone, from the reactions between water and rock, from the gradients of heat and chemical composition. They might cluster around hydrothermal vents, forming mats and colonies, living and dying in the black depths of an alien sea. Or perhaps life there has had time to evolve into more complex forms. 4 billion years is a long time. On Earth, life remained single-celled for about 3 billion years before complex multicellular organisms appeared. But it did eventually appear. Could Europa have its own versions of animals, strange swimmers adapted to the dark, the pressure, the cold? It's speculation, tantalizing but unproven. We simply don't know. What we do know is that Europa represents one of the best chances in our solar system to find life beyond Earth. It has water in abundance. It has chemistry. It has energy. And it has been stable for billions of years, giving life. The idea of an ocean world hidden beneath ice, circling a giant planet far from the sun, would have seemed like pure science fiction a few decades ago. Now it's not fiction. It's real. Europa is there, orbiting Jupiter, its ocean sloshing beneath the ice. And Europa is not alone. Saturn has a retinue of more than 80 moons, ranging from tiny captured asteroids to Titan, larger than the planet Mercury. Among them is a small, bright moon called Enceladus, only about 500 kilometers in diameter. For a long time, it seemed unremarkable. Then, in 2005, the Cassini spacecraft changed everything. Cassini arrived at Saturn in 2004 and spent 13 years studying the planet, its rings, and its moons. During a close flyby of Enceladus, Cassini's cameras captured something unexpected: plumes of water vapor and ice particles erupting from the moon's south pole, shooting hundreds of kilometers into space. These weren't subtle features. They were dramatic geysers, spraying material from cracks in the ice that scientists nicknamed tiger stripes because of their parallel, elongated appearance. The discovery was stunning. This tiny moon, cold and distant, was geologically active, and it had liquid water somewhere beneath its icy shell. Cassini flew through the plumes, tasting their composition directly. What it found was remarkable. Water ice, of course, but also salts, suggesting the water came from a salty ocean like Earth's. There was carbon dioxide. There were simple organic molecules: methane, formaldehyde, acetylene, propane, and crucially, there was molecular hydrogen. The presence of hydrogen is particularly significant. Molecular hydrogen in the plumes most likely comes from hydrothermal reactions on the ocean floor, where hot water reacts with rock in a process called serpentinization. On Earth, serpentinization produces hydrogen gas and provides energy that certain microbes can use to live. If the same process is happening on Enceladus, it means there's an energy source for potential life. The density of organic molecules detected in the plumes was about 20 times higher than scientists had predicted. This suggests that whatever chemical processes are happening in Enceladus's ocean, they're producing organic compounds in abundance. Complex chemistry is occurring, and complex chemistry is the foundation of biology. Later analysis of Cassini's data revealed tiny grains of silica in the plumes. These nanograins can only form under very specific conditions. Liquid water in contact with rock at temperatures of at least 90 degrees Celsius, or about 194 degrees Fahrenheit. The presence of these particles strongly suggests hydrothermal activity. It points to hot springs on Enceladus's seafloor, vents pouring heated, mineral-rich water into the cold ocean. Enceladus's ocean is global, like Europa's, surrounding the moon's entire rocky core. The ice shell above is thinner than Europa's in some places, perhaps only a few kilometers thick near the South Pole. This means the ocean is relatively accessible. The plumes bring ocean material directly to space, where we can sample it without needing to land and drill. What powers Enceladus's geological activity? Like Europa, tidal heating plays a crucial role. Saturn's gravity, combined with gravitational interactions with other moons, flexes Enceladus's interior, generating heat. But Enceladus is much smaller than Europa. Some scientists think there might be additional heat from radioactive decay in the rocky core, helping to maintain the ocean and drive the hydrothermal systems. The tiger stripes are strange and beautiful. They're warm relative to the surrounding terrain, suggesting heat from below. Material erupts from them continuously, creating Saturn's faint E-ring, a broad band of icy particles fed by Enceladus itself. The moon is literally spilling its ocean into space, creating a ring around the planet. What would Enceladus's ocean be like? Cold, certainly. The bulk of the ocean is probably close to freezing, but near the seafloor vents, temperatures could be much higher. The ocean is salty, perhaps comparable to Earth's oceans in salinity. It's in darkness, untouched by sunlight. It contains organic molecules and dissolved gases. It's chemically active, with gradients of temperature, salinity, and chemical composition. Is there life in Enceladus's ocean? We don't know, but the ingredients are there. Liquid water, organic chemistry, energy from hydrothermal processes, and billions of years of time. It's a recipe we know can work. Because it worked on Earth. Scientists have proposed missions to return to Enceladus, to fly through the plumes again with more sophisticated instruments, or even to land near the tiger stripes and analyze the material directly. Some missions have been conceptualized that would drill through the relatively thin ice and send a probe into the ocean itself. These are ambitious ideas, requiring technology that doesn't fully exist yet, but they're not impossible. The advantage of Enceladus is that it makes exploration easier in one crucial way. It brings samples to us. We don't need to dig through the ice. The plumes deliver ocean water into space, where a spacecraft can collect it. This accessibility makes Enceladus one of the most attractive targets for astrobiology. Imagine what we might find if we sent a spacecraft to sample the plumes with advanced instruments designed to detect biosignatures. What would we look for? Large organic molecules arranged in patterns that suggest biological origin. Amino acids with the specific chirality or handedness that life on Earth uses. Perhaps even cell fragments, pieces of membranes or strands of genetic material. It sounds like science fiction, but it's within the realm of possibility. Or we might find nothing biological at all. Only complex chemistry that remains abiotic, never having crossed the threshold into life. That would be disappointing in one sense, but it would still teach us something valuable. What happens in a water-rich, chemically active ocean world when life doesn't begin? That negative data would help us understand what life truly requires. Enceladus also teaches us about the diversity of ocean worlds. Europa and Enceladus are different in many ways, different sizes, different host planets, different histories, but they share the fundamental characteristics of hidden oceans beneath ice. This suggests such worlds might be common. In our solar system alone, we know of several: Europa, Enceladus, possibly Titan, maybe Ganymede and Callisto, perhaps even Pluto. Ocean worlds might be the rule rather than the exception. And if ocean worlds are common here, in our one solar system, circling our one star, they're likely common throughout the galaxy. There could be billions of ocean worlds, each a potential abode for life. The implications are staggering. The universe might be filled with living oceans, hidden beneath ice, secret seas on moons we haven't even discovered yet. But some worlds don't hide their oceans. Some wear them on their surface, in forms stranger than liquid water. Titan is extraordinary. It's the largest moon of Saturn, bigger than the planet Mercury, and it's the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere. When you look at Titan through a telescope, you don't see its surface. You see a hazy, orange atmosphere, thick with organic chemistry. That atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, like Earth's, but denser. The surface pressure on Titan is about 1.5 times Earth's surface pressure. This thick atmosphere creates a greenhouse effect, raising the temperature slightly, but Titan is still frigid, with a surface temperature around -179 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, water ice is as hard as rock. Granite mountains on Titan are made of water ice. So what's liquid? Methane and ethane. Titan has weather, but instead of water rain, it has methane rain. Instead of water clouds, methane clouds form in the atmosphere. And instead of water oceans, Titan has lakes and seas of liquid methane and ethane, primarily in the polar regions. The Cassini mission, which orbited Saturn from 2004 to 2017, mapped Titan extensively using radar to peer through the thick atmosphere. It revealed lakes and seas on the surface, bodies of liquid hydrocarbons scattered across the poles. The largest, Kraken Mare, is bigger than the Caspian Sea on Earth. Ligeia Mare and Punga Mare are smaller, but still substantial. These are seas of methane and ethane, cold and clear, possibly with dissolved organic compounds creating complex chemistry. Titan has a hydrological cycle, but it's a hydrocarbon cycle. Methane evaporates from the lakes and seas, rises into the atmosphere, condenses into clouds, and falls as rain. Rivers carve channels in the icy landscape, flowing with liquid methane, eventually reaching the seas. The atmosphere itself is a laboratory for organic chemistry. Sunlight and charged particles from Saturn's magnetosphere break apart methane and nitrogen molecules high in the atmosphere. The fragments recombine into more complex molecules: ethane, propane, acetylene, hydrogen cyanide, and many others. These molecules cluster together, forming tiny particles called tholins, organic aerosols that give Titan's atmosphere its characteristic orange haze. Tholins rain down onto the surface, accumulating over time. The surface might be covered in a layer of organic material, a sludge of complex hydrocarbons mixed with water ice. This organic chemistry is prebiotic, meaning it resembles the kind of chemistry that might have occurred on Earth before life began. Titan is like a frozen snapshot of Earth's early atmosphere, before oxygen transformed our world. But there's more to Titan than surface lakes. The data indicate this subsurface ocean is probably a mix of water and ammonia, located perhaps 50 to 100 kilometers below the surface. This hasn't been directly observed, we can't drill through to check, but the gravitational evidence is persuasive. This creates a fascinating duality. On Titan, you have two potential habitats: the surface lakes of methane and ethane, and a subsurface ocean of water. Two entirely different environments, each with its own possibility for life, each requiring a different biochemistry. Could life exist in Titan's methane lakes? It would have to be radically different from life on Earth. Methane is nonpolar, meaning it doesn't dissolve the same kinds of molecules water does. Cell membranes on Earth are built from phospholipids, molecules with polar heads and nonpolar tails that arrange themselves into double layers in water. In methane, you'd need a different membrane structure. Scientists have proposed a hypothetical membrane structure called an azotosome, made from nitrogen-containing organic compounds that could theoretically form vesicles in liquid methane. This is purely theoretical. No one has observed such structures, but the chemistry appears sound. These would work analogously to cell membranes on Earth, but would be built from entirely different molecular building blocks. Inside such a membrane, you'd need metabolism based on different reactions, perhaps using hydrogen as an energy source instead of oxygen, producing acetylene or other hydrocarbons instead of carbon dioxide. It sounds exotic, and it is, but exotic doesn't mean impossible. Chemistry is versatile, and given the right conditions, it might find ways to create complexity and organization even in environments nothing like Earth. The subsurface water ocean presents a more familiar possibility. If there are hydrothermal vents on Titan's seafloor, if water mixes with the organic rich material from the surface through cracks and cryovolcanic activity, you could have a chemically rich environment suitable for life as we know it. Tidal heating from Saturn might provide energy. Time certainly isn't an issue. Titan has existed for billions of years. There's even the tantalizing possibility of communication between the two realms. Some models suggest that cryovolcanism could bring water from the subsurface ocean to the surface, where it would mix with the organic-rich environment. This could create localized pools where water and organic chemistry interact, perhaps creating conditions where new kinds of chemistry could emerge. Titan is scheduled to be visited by a mission called Dragonfly, a rotorcraft lander that will launch in July 2028 and arrive in the mid-2030 seconds. Dragonfly will be able to fly in Titan's thick atmosphere, hopping from site to site, sampling the surface, analyzing the chemistry, and searching for signs of prebiotic or even biotic processes. It will land in an area called Shangri-La, near the equator, where dunes of organic material stretch across the landscape. Dragonfly will analyze the chemistry of the surface materials, looking for complex organic molecules and testing whether any chemical processes resemble metabolism. It will study the atmosphere, the weather, and the geology. It will be humanity's first mission to an ocean world beyond the asteroid belt, and it represents our best chance in the near future to explore a truly alien environment. What might we learn? Perhaps that Titan's chemistry, though complex, never crossed the threshold into biology. That would tell us something important. Complexity alone isn't enough. Or perhaps we'll find something that challenges our definitions of life, something that metabolizes and reproduces but does so in ways we didn't anticipate. Titan represents the edge of what we can imagine when we think about habitable worlds. It's not habitable for us. Certainly, a human on Titan's surface would freeze instantly, suffocate in the nitrogen atmosphere, and find no breathable oxygen. But habitability isn't about whether humans could survive. It's about whether life, in some form, Europa, Enceladus, Titan, each is different. Each poses unique challenges and possibilities, but they share one crucial insight. Habitable conditions might exist in places we wouldn't have considered a few decades ago. Far from the sun, beneath ice, or on surfaces bathed in hydrocarbon rain, the ingredients for life might be present. And if life can exist in such strange places in our own solar system, using chemistry we're only beginning to understand what might be possible on worlds we've never seen, circling distant stars, under entirely alien conditions. We've talked about life as we know it. Carbon-based, using water, requiring certain energy sources. This is the only kind of life we've ever found, the only kind we truly understand. But it raises a profound question. Is this the only way? Carl Sagan, the astronomer and science communicator, used a phrase to describe our biases: carbon chauvinism. It's the assumption that life must be based on carbon, that it must use water, that it must resemble, at least in its basic chemistry, life on Earth. Sagan argued that this assumption might be limiting our thinking. The universe is vast and full of conditions we've never experienced. Might life adapt to those conditions in ways we can't imagine? The element most often discussed as an alternative to carbon is silicon. Look at the periodic table, and you'll see silicon sits directly below carbon. They're in the same group, meaning they have similar chemical properties. Both have 4 electrons in their outer shell, allowing them to form 4 bonds with other atoms. Just as carbon can form long chains and complex structures, silicon can too, at least in principle. Silicon is also abundant. It's much more common in Earth's crust than carbon. Most of the rocks beneath your feet contain silicon bonded with oxygen in silicate minerals. If availability mattered, you'd expect silicon-based life to be the norm. Yet on Earth, life chose carbon. Why? The reasons are chemical. Silicon-silicon bonds are weaker than carbon-carbon bonds. This means silicon chains are less stable and more likely to break apart. Silicon also struggles to form double bonds, which carbon does easily. These double bonds are crucial for many biological molecules, including the backbone of DNA and RNA. Perhaps most importantly, silicon's chemistry in the presence of oxygen is very different from carbon's. When carbon combusts or reacts with oxygen, it forms carbon dioxide, a gas that can be easily expelled. Breathing out carbon dioxide is simple, but when silicon reacts with oxygen, it forms silicon dioxide, also known as silica or quartz. That's a solid, a mineral. Imagine trying to breathe out sand. Silicon-based life would face serious problems in an oxygen-rich environment. But what if the environment isn't oxygen-rich? This is where silicon-based life moves from impossible to merely improbable. In a reducing atmosphere, one dominated by hydrogen, hydrogen sulfide, or other reducing gases, silicon chemistry might become more feasible. Without oxygen to react with, silicon compounds wouldn't immediately oxidize into inert minerals. They could potentially form complex, stable structures. On a world very different from Earth, perhaps a cold planet where methane is liquid, or a hot world with exotic chemistry, silicon reactions might follow pathways we haven't imagined. Some researchers have speculated about environments where silicon life might theoretically exist. Extremely high temperatures, where silicon compounds remain reactive, or extremely low temperatures where the slower pace of silicon chemistry doesn't face overwhelming competition from more versatile carbon. Venus's upper atmosphere, with its sulfuric acid clouds and intense heat, has been mentioned as a possibility. Titan's methane lakes represent another theoretical environment where unconventional chemistries might operate. If silicon-based life exists, it wouldn't look like us. It might resemble living crystals, geometric structures that grow and replicate through mineral deposition rather than cell division. Its metabolism might operate on timescales we'd find impossibly slow, taking years or centuries to complete processes that carbon-based life completes in seconds. Then there's arsenic. In 2010, phosphorus is one of the CHNOPS elements, essential for life as we know it. It forms the backbone of DNA, linking the sugar molecules together. Arsenic sits below phosphorus on the periodic table, and it has similar chemical properties. The researchers claimed that bacteria from California's Mono Lake, an arsenic-rich environment, could incorporate arsenic into their DNA when phosphorus was scarce. If true, it would have been extraordinary, proof that even on Earth, life could use alternative biochemistry. But the claim fell apart under scrutiny. Other scientists couldn't replicate the results. Careful reanalysis revealed that the arsenic wasn't actually incorporated into the DNA's molecular structure. It had merely stuck to the outside of the molecules or been present as contamination. The bacteria were extraordinarily tolerant of arsenic in their environment, which is remarkable in itself, but they still used phosphorus for their essential biochemistry. The study was officially retracted in 2025, 15 years after its publication, a sobering reminder of how difficult it is to verify extraordinary claims. The arsenic bacteria story is a cautionary tale about jumping to conclusions. It's also a reminder of why alternative biochemistry is so difficult. On Earth, with billions of years of evolution and every conceivable environment colonized by life, we still only find one biochemistry. That suggests carbon-water-based life is either the best solution to the challenges of biochemistry, or it's the first solution, and once established, it occupies all available niches so completely that alternatives can't gain a foothold. But absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Just because we haven't found silicon-based or arsenic-based life doesn't mean it can't exist elsewhere. It might thrive on worlds so unlike Earth that we'd never even think to look there. Consider alternative solvents. Water is wonderful, but it's not the only liquid. Ammonia, for instance, is a polar molecule like water and can dissolve many of the same substances. It remains liquid at much colder temperatures than water, from -77 to -33 degrees Celsius at Earth's atmospheric pressure. On a cold world, an ocean of liquid ammonia might provide a medium for complex chemistry. There are challenges, of course. Ammonia is chemically reactive and might break down the kinds of molecules life needs. But evolution is resourceful. Perhaps life in ammonia would use different molecules, one stable in that solvent. Nonpolar solvents like methane and ethane are even stranger. They don't dissolve salts or polar molecules, but they're excellent at dissolving oils, fats, and other nonpolar compounds. Titan's methane seas might host chemistries based on lipids and hydrocarbons, fundamentally different from Earth's biochemistry. Scientists have even proposed life in exotic environments, like the sulfuric acid clouds of Venus, or in supercritical carbon dioxide, or in liquid nitrogen. Each environment would require its own biochemistry, its own solutions to the problems of metabolism, replication, and maintaining complexity against entropy. The truth is, we don't know the limits of life. Our sample size is one, Earth. Everything that has ever lived here shares the same fundamental biochemistry. We're all relatives, all descended from a single origin of life that happened billions of years ago. That common ancestry means we can't use Earth's diversity to tell us what's possible. We need to look elsewhere. This is why the search for life on other worlds is so important. If we find life on Mars and it shares Earth's biochemistry, it might mean life began on one world and spread to the other on meteorites, or that life arises through a universal pathway whenever conditions are right. But if we find life on Mars, or Europa, or Enceladus, and its biochemistry is fundamentally different if it uses different amino acids, different genetic molecules, different metabolic pathways, that would be revolutionary. It would mean life isn't a singular accident, but a general feature of chemistry under the right conditions. It would mean the universe might be teeming with life in forms we can barely imagine, and it would mean our search must expand to include possibilities we haven't yet dreamed of. Imagine finding microbes on Titan that use methane-based metabolism. Imagine discovering silicon crystal life forms in the clouds of a hot Jupiter exoplanet. Imagine detecting biosignatures in the atmosphere of a distant world that don't match any chemistry we understand. These discoveries might be decades away, or they might be waiting in the next dataset from a space probe. We won't know until we look. And we must look with open minds, prepared to find life that doesn't fit our expectations. Because if there's one lesson from the history of science, it's this: nature is more creative, more diverse, and stranger than we imagine. The universe doesn't care about our assumptions. It simply is, in all its variety, waiting for us to discover it. If life can exist in forms we struggle to envision, might some of it have evolved intelligence? And if intelligence arose, might it be trying to communicate across the vast distances between stars? For decades, we've been listening for such messages, scanning the skies for signals that could only come from another technological civilization. So far, we've heard only silence, but the search continues. On the night of the 8th of April 1960, a young astronomer named Frank Drake pointed an 85-foot radio telescope at the star Tau Ceti, one of the nearest sun-like stars, about 12 light-years away. He was conducting an experiment he called Project Ozma, named after the Queen in Elle. Frank Baum's Oz books a nod to the fantastical nature of the quest. For 6 hours that night, Drake listened through headphones as the telescope collected radio waves from the star's direction. He was listening for something artificial, a pattern in the noise, a message from another civilization. He heard only static, the natural radio noise of the cosmos. Nothing unusual, nothing that suggested intelligence. Drake would continue observing through the spring and early summer of 1960, monitoring both Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani, another nearby sun-like star. In total, he accumulated about 150 hours of observation time over roughly 4 months. The project represented humanity's first systematic attempt to detect signals from extraterrestrial intelligence. Drake chose a specific radio frequency to observe, 1,420 MHz, the natural emission frequency of neutral hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and astronomers throughout the cosmos would know this frequency. Drake reasoned that an advanced civilization wanting to attract attention might broadcast at this frequency or near it, knowing others would be listening. This region of the radio spectrum is quiet, relatively free from the roar of natural cosmic sources. It's called the water hole, a lovely metaphor. Hydrogen emits at 1,420 MHz. The hydroxyl radical, O, emits at 1,665 MHz. H and OH combine to make water, H2O. And between their emission frequencies lies a quiet band perfect for communication. It's a cosmic waterhole where civilizations might gather to exchange signals. On one occasion during Project Ozma, Drake detected a strong, unusual signal. But with careful follow-up, he realized it was terrestrial interference, a radio transmission from a high-altitude aircraft. False alarm. The search continued, and nothing definitive was found. Project Ozma ended without detecting extraterrestrial intelligence, but it began something important: the scientific search for signals from other worlds. Drake had shown it was possible to search systematically, using existing technology, without descending into pseudoscience or wild speculation. In 1961, Drake organized a meeting at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. He wanted to discuss the prospects for detecting extraterrestrial civilizations. To structure the discussion, he came up with an equation, a way to estimate the number of communicating civilizations in our galaxy. The Drake equation considers several factors: the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the number of planets per star that could support life, the fraction on which life actually arises, the fraction of life that evolves intelligence, the fraction of intelligent species that develop technology capable of communication, and the length of time such civilizations broadcast detectable signals. Multiply all these factors together, and you get an estimate. The problem is, most of the factors are unknown. We can make educated guesses, but the uncertainty is enormous. Depending on the values you choose, the equation might suggest thousands of communicating civilizations in the galaxy, or suggest we're alone. It's not a predictive tool so much as a framework for thinking about the problem. Over the decades since Drake's pioneering work, SETI has evolved tremendously, transforming from a handful of astronomers with a single telescope into a global scientific endeavor. The technology has improved dramatically. The computers that analyze the data are millions of times more powerful than those available to Drake in 1960. Telescopes have become more sensitive, able to detect fainter signals from greater distances, and our understanding of where to search and what to search for has deepened. Modern SETI searches scan millions of radio channels simultaneously, a feat impossible in Drake's era. Special purpose hardware and sophisticated software sort through the cosmic noise, looking for patterns that would indicate artificial origin. Natural cosmic sources produce broadband noise, like static on a radio, but a narrowband signal, concentrated at a specific frequency like a laser-focused carrier wave, would suggest technology. Only an artificial transmitter would create such a signal. The Allen Telescope Array in Northern California, owned and operated by the SETI Institute, represents a new approach to radio astronomy. It consists of 42 radio dishes, each 6 meters in diameter, working together as an interferometer. The array was designed from the ground up for SETI work, able to observe multiple targets simultaneously while regular astronomical observations continue. It can survey large swaths of sky, monitoring thousands of star systems for unusual signals. Another major facility is the Cosmic System at the Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array in New Mexico. COSMIC, which stands for Commensal Open Source Multimode Interferometer Cluster, is a sophisticated back-end system that piggybacks on the VLA's observations. While the VLA conducts its regular astronomical research, COSMIC copies the data stream and analyzes it in real time for technosignatures. This commensal approach means SETI searches can run continuously without requiring dedicated telescope time, dramatically increasing the number of observations. The search hasn't been limited to radio frequencies either. Optical SETI represents a different approach entirely. Instead of listening for radio waves, optical SETI looks for brief pulses of laser light. An advanced civilization could use powerful lasers to send messages across interstellar space. Such pulses would be extraordinarily bright but brief, perhaps only nanoseconds long, requiring precise timing and sensitive detectors to catch. The rationale makes sense. Lasers can be focused into tight beams, concentrating power. A sufficiently powerful laser pulse could outshine a star, at least at the specific wavelength of the laser, for the brief moment it's on. If a civilization wanted to announce its presence, pulsed lasers might be an efficient way to do it. Optical SETI programs scan the sky for these telltale flashes, analyzing starlight for anomalies that might indicate artificial beacons. Beyond looking for deliberate signals, scientists also search for inadvertent technosignatures. Every civilization leaves marks on its environment. On Earth, we've transformed the atmosphere, adding industrial pollutants, changing the concentrations of gases like carbon dioxide and methane. These changes are detectable from space. If we can measure Earth's atmospheric composition from orbit, we could potentially detect similar changes in the atmospheres of exoplanets around other stars. The James Webb Space Telescope and future observatories might detect molecules in exoplanet atmospheres that shouldn't exist naturally in those concentrations. Chlorofluorocarbons, for instance, don't occur naturally. Finding them in an exoplanet's atmosphere would suggest industrial activity. It wouldn't be proof of current civilization. The signals could be ancient, from a civilization long gone, but it would be evidence that technological intelligence once existed there. There are even searches for megastructures, enormous engineering projects that advanced civilizations might construct. The most famous hypothetical megastructure is the Dyson sphere, proposed by physicist Freeman Dyson in 1960. A Dyson sphere or swarm would be a structure surrounding a star, designed to capture and use the star's energy. Such a structure would block the star's visible light and re-emit it as infrared radiation from waste heat. A star with an unusual amount of infrared emission relative to its visible light might be enclosed in such a structure. This was the speculation surrounding KIC 8462852, also known as Tabby's star, when it was discovered to dim in strange, irregular patterns unlike anything caused by orbiting planets. Could it be a megastructure under construction? Subsequent observations found natural explanations. Dust clouds are the likely culprit, but the episode showed how seriously modern SETI takes the search for all kinds of technosignatures. In 2015, a new initiative called Breakthrough Listen was announced, funded by Russian billionaire Yuri Milner and supported by scientists including Stephen Hawking. Breakthrough Listen committed $100 million over 10 years to the most comprehensive SETI search ever undertaken. The project uses some of the world's largest radio telescopes, including the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia and the Parkes Telescope in Australia, to scan millions of nearby stars. Breakthrough Listen also searches for optical signals, partnering with observatories to watch for laser pulses. The initiative analyzes data in real time, using machine learning algorithms to sift through the vast amounts of information, looking for patterns that might indicate intelligence. China has contributed with FAST, the 500-meter aperture spherical telescope, the world's largest single-dish radio telescope. In June 2022, researchers using FAST reported detecting several narrowband signals that initially appeared unusual. The signals generated brief excitement in the SETI community, but subsequent analysis by Dan Wertheimer, chief scientist for several SETI projects, indicated these were almost certainly radio interference from terrestrial sources, what he called radio pollution from Earthlings, not from ET. This is a common challenge in SETI work, distinguishing genuine extraterrestrial signals from the overwhelming cacophony of human-generated radio noise. False alarms are common in SETI. The cosmos is noisy, and Earth itself is saturated with radio transmissions. Distinguishing an artificial signal from space, from interference from a satellite, a cell tower, or a passing airplane is challenging. True signals would need to be confirmed through multiple observations, ideally by independent telescopes in different locations. One famous candidate signal is the WOW signal, detected on the 15th of August 1977 by the Big Ear Radio Telescope, operated by Ohio State University. The signal was strong, narrowband, and came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It lasted 72 seconds, the full duration that the telescope's field of view swept across the sky. When astronomer Jerry Emin reviewed the data printout, he circled the signal and wrote, "Wow," in the margin. Despite numerous attempts, the WOW signal has never been detected again. Was it extraterrestrial? Was it a natural phenomenon we don't understand? Was it interference? We don't know. It remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries in SETI history. What would it take to confirm a genuine signal? First, repeatability. The signal would need to appear again, ideally multiple times, allowing detailed study. Second, it should have characteristics that suggest artificiality, a narrowband carrier wave, perhaps modulation encoding information, frequency drift consistent with the motion of a distant planet. Third, it should originate from a specific point in the sky, not from a terrestrial source. If such a signal were confirmed, the discovery would be transformative. It would answer one of humanity's oldest questions: are we alone? The answer would be no. We'd know, with certainty, that intelligence exists elsewhere. We'd be part of a cosmic community, even if communication took centuries or millennia due to the vast distances involved. But SETI is more than a search for signals. It's a search for perspective. Every hour spent listening is an hour spent contemplating our place in the universe. It's a recognition that we're participants in a vast, ancient cosmos, and that if others are out there, they might be asking the same questions we are. SETI also teaches humility. The search is hard. Space is vast. Even with our best instruments, we can only search a tiny fraction of the sky at a limited range of frequencies for brief periods. We might be listening at the wrong time, in the wrong way, for signals that are common elsewhere but directed away from us. And yet, the search is worth it. If we search millions of stars and find nothing, that tells us intelligent, communicating civilizations are either rare or short-lived. Both conclusions are profound. Recent studies have examined what signals from Earth would look like to distant observers. Research has shown that radio emissions from powerful planetary radar systems like the Arecibo Observatory, before its collapse in 2020, could theoretically be detected from up to 12,000 light-years away under ideal conditions. However, most of our routine radio and television broadcasts are much weaker and would be difficult to detect beyond a few dozen light-years. This means our presence has been announced to any civilization within a relatively small bubble around Earth, though those signals would take thousands of years to reach the most distant parts of that sphere. Atmospheric technosignatures, like nitrogen dioxide from industrial activity. The James Webb Space Telescope and future instruments might be able to detect such biosignatures and technosignatures in the atmospheres of exoplanets, opening new avenues for finding evidence of life and intelligence. SETI is no longer fringe science. It's a rigorous, multidisciplinary field combining astronomy, signal processing, data science, and astrobiology. Universities offer courses in SETI. Research papers are published in peer-reviewed journals. NASA has renewed interest in technosignature research, recognizing it as a legitimate area of inquiry. But for all the effort, for all the hours of observation and terabytes of data analyzed, we've found nothing conclusive. The universe remains quiet. This silence is itself a mystery, one that leads us to one of the most haunting questions in all of science. If the universe should be teeming with life, if intelligence should be common, if civilizations should have arisen billions of years before us, then where is everybody? Why haven't we seen them, heard them, found evidence of their existence? This is the question Enrico Fermi asked over lunch one day in 1950, and it's become one of the deepest puzzles we face: the Fermi paradox, the great silence. And the answers we consider shape how we understand our own future. It was the summer of 1950 at Los Alamos National Laboratory, the site where some of the world's brightest physicists had gathered during and after World War II. Enrico Fermi, the Italian-American physicist who had won the Nobel Prize in 1938, was having lunch with colleagues including Edward Teller, Emil Konopinski, and Herbert York. The conversation had drifted to flying saucers, a topic that captured public imagination in that era, and whether faster-than-light travel might be possible. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Fermi posed a question that would echo through the decades. Where is everybody? According to Edward Teller's recollection, the question prompted general laughter around the table because everyone immediately understood what Fermi meant. He was asking about extraterrestrial civilizations. Herbert York later recalled that Fermi followed up with quick calculations about the probability of Earth-like planets, the likelihood of life arising, and how long it would take to colonize the galaxy. The conclusion was stark. We should have been visited long ago, and many times over. Earth should have been visited already, yet we see no evidence. No ancient artifacts left by explorers, no megastructures visible in the sky, no radio signals. Nothing. This is the Fermi paradox. The contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations and the complete lack of evidence for them. Let's consider the numbers. The Milky Way contains between 100 and 400 billion stars. Many of these stars have planets. Recent discoveries from missions like Kepler and TESS suggest planets are the norm, not the exception. There are likely hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy alone. Some of these planets orbit in the habitable zone, the region around a star where temperatures allow liquid water to exist. Estimates suggest there could be tens of billions of Earth-sized planets in habitable zones in the Milky Way. That's billions of potential cradles for life. If even a small fraction of those planets develop life, and if a small fraction of those develop intelligence, and if a small fraction of those develop technology, you'd still expect thousands or millions of technological civilizations in the galaxy. And the galaxy is old enough that many of these civilizations should be far more advanced than humanity. They've had millions or even billions of years to develop. So where are they? Many explanations have been proposed, and they fall into several broad categories. One possibility is that life is extraordinarily rare. Perhaps the origin of life requires such a specific set of conditions that Earth is one of the only places it's happened. This is sometimes called the rare Earth hypothesis. Maybe planets need to be the right size, in the right orbit, around the right kind of star, with a large moon to stabilize their axis, with plate tectonics to recycle nutrients, with a magnetic field to protect from radiation. Maybe the combination of factors is so improbable that habitable planets are vanishingly rare, but this seems increasingly unlikely. We're finding that planets are diverse and common. Conditions we thought were required for life, like a certain type of star or a certain orbital distance, are turning out to be more flexible than we assumed. Another possibility is that life arises commonly, but intelligent life is rare. On Earth, life began about 3.8 billion years ago, but intelligence capable of technology appeared only in the last few million years. For most of Earth's history, life was single-celled. Complex multicellular life appeared only about 600 million years ago. Intelligence is a recent and perhaps rare development. This leads to the idea of the Great Filter, a concept proposed by economist Robin Hanson. The Great Filter is a step or series of steps in the development from non-life to spacefaring civilization that is extremely unlikely. There must be a filter somewhere, because we see no evidence of successful civilizations filling the galaxy. The question is, where is the filter? If the filter is behind us, in our past, then we've already passed the most difficult hurdle. The hardest step might have been the origin of life itself, the development of eukaryotic cells with their complex internal structures, or perhaps the evolution of intelligence and technology. If this interpretation is correct, we might be one of the few, or even the only civilization in the galaxy to have made it this far. This would mean we're cosmically safe from future filters, but it also suggests profound loneliness. If the filter is ahead of us, the implications become considerably darker. This would suggest that civilizations commonly arise and develop technology, but then encounter some nearly insurmountable barrier. The nature of this barrier remains speculative. Perhaps technological civilizations inevitably destroy themselves through nuclear war, environmental collapse, or the development of technologies they can't control. Some researchers have proposed that artificial intelligence might represent such a filter if AI systems consistently surpass their biological creators, and then, for reasons we don't yet understand, either don't expand across the galaxy or don't endure. Perhaps there's simply a fundamental limit to how far any civilization can develop before internal contradictions or external threats bring about collapse. This is a chilling thought. It would mean the silence of the universe is a warning. It would mean we're approaching our own filter, and our survival is not guaranteed. Other explanations are less apocalyptic but equally thought-provoking. The zoo hypothesis proposes that advanced civilizations know about us but deliberately avoid contact, perhaps observing us as we might observe animals in a nature preserve, allowing natural development without interference. This explanation has appeal but raises questions. Would all civilizations across billions of years agree to such a policy? The coordination required seems implausible. The dark forest hypothesis, popularized by Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin in his novel The Dark Forest, offers a bleaker scenario. It suggests the universe might be dangerous, filled with civilizations that view any other intelligence as a potential existential threat. In this framework, the safest strategy is to remain hidden and silent, to avoid detection by potentially hostile others. Every civilization, in this view, lurks quietly in the cosmic dark forest, destroying any others they detect before being destroyed themselves. While this idea has captured imaginations, it's worth noting that it requires assumptions about universal behavior that may not hold. Not all species or civilizations would necessarily adopt the same paranoid strategy. Timing might also be an issue. Civilizations might rise and fall. A civilization's detectable window, the period when it broadcasts radio signals or creates other technosignatures, might be brief. On Earth, we've been broadcasting radio signals into space, intentionally and unintentionally, for about 125 years. since Guglielmo Marconi's experiments in the late 1890 seconds. But our most powerful transmissions have only been common for the last 70 to 80 years. If we switch to more efficient, directed communication technologies, or went silent for other reasons, future observers might not detect us. If other civilizations have similarly brief windows, we might simply be missing each other in time. Distance is another factor. Space is incomprehensibly vast. Even traveling at the speed of light, it would take 100,000 years to cross the Milky Way. Interstellar travel might be possible in theory, but it's enormously challenging. No civilization might have the resources or the motivation to colonize the galaxy. They might explore nearby stars, but the effort and timescales required to go further might be prohibitive. Or perhaps they communicate in ways we don't recognize. We search for radio signals, but an advanced civilization might use neutrinos, gravitational waves, or methods we haven't discovered. Their signals might be all around us, but we're deaf to them. There's also the possibility that we're not looking correctly. SETI has surveyed only a tiny fraction of the sky, at limited frequencies for limited times. We've been seriously searching for only about 60 years. A cosmic blink. The galaxy might be full of signals we simply haven't detected yet because we haven't looked in the right place at the right time. Each explanation has its adherents and its challenges. The truth might be a combination of factors. Life might be common but intelligence rare. Civilizations might arise but destroy themselves. The galaxy might be full of life, but communication is hard, and we're simply too young and too limited in our search. The Fermi paradox forces us to think about our place in the cosmos. It's a mirror reflecting our hopes and fears. Are we unique, precious, alone, or are we common, ordinary, waiting to make contact? Some find the silence terrifying, a sign of cosmic loneliness or impending doom. Others find it liberating. If we're alone, or effectively alone, then the galaxy is ours to explore. The responsibility to preserve and spread life might fall to us. The physicist Enrico Fermi, who posed the question, never published on the topic. It was a lunchtime musing, a casual thought experiment, but it touched something profound, and it's resonated through the decades. We don't yet know the answer. We might find microbial life on Mars or in Europa's ocean, and that would tell us life isn't unique to Earth. But it wouldn't answer whether intelligence is common. For that, we need SETI to succeed. We need to detect a signal, unambiguous and artificial, from another civilization. Or we need to accept that the silence might be real, that we might be alone. There's a weight to the silence. It presses on us as we consider the vastness of space and the absence of company. For all of human history, we've looked at the stars and imagined others looking back. We've told stories of gods in the heavens, of celestial beings, of travelers from distant worlds. The idea that we might be alone feels, in some deep way, wrong. But feelings aren't facts. The universe doesn't care about our desires. It simply is. If we are alone, or nearly so, what does that mean? One perspective is profound loneliness. In a universe filled with billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, the idea that consciousness exists only on one small planet feels impossibly lonely. We're a spark of awareness in an otherwise indifferent cosmos, a brief flicker of thought in the vast darkness. When we're gone, if we're the only ones, the universe returns to silence. But there's another perspective, one of responsibility and wonder. If we're alone, then we're cosmically precious. Consciousness, self-awareness, the ability to ask questions and seek answers might be vanishingly rare. We might be the universe's way of knowing itself. Through us, the cosmos becomes aware, thinks, creates, loves. That's not a burden, it's a gift. And if we're alone, the future is ours to shape. The galaxy is empty, waiting. We could spread life to other worlds, terraform Mars, seed Europa's ocean, create habitats in the asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. We could ensure that life, at least from Earth, becomes widespread. We could be the ancestors of civilizations that fill the galaxy, diverse descendants of humanity and the life that traveled with us. This is speculative, of course. We're nowhere near having the technology or the resources for such endeavors, but it's not impossible. It's a vision of the future that transforms loneliness into purpose. But what if we're not alone? What if intelligence is common, but we simply haven't detected it yet? This possibility is equally profound. It means we're part of a cosmic community, even if we haven't made contact. It means the universe is filled with other minds, other perspectives, other stories. Somewhere, perhaps, there are beings looking at their own skies, wondering if they're alone, just as we do. Contact, if it happens, would be transformative. Imagine receiving a signal, decoding it, and finding a message from another civilization. An invitation? The cultural impact would be immeasurable. Every human society would have to contend with the knowledge that we're not unique. Religions would need to reconcile their teachings with the existence of others. Philosophies would expand. Art, literature, music, all would be influenced by this new cosmic perspective. And if we could communicate, what would we learn? What could a civilization 1,000,000 years older than us teach? What technologies might they share? What philosophies? What warnings about mistakes they made that we might avoid? Or perhaps they're at our level, struggling with the same questions, facing the same challenges. Perhaps we could learn together, but contact might never happen. The distances might be too great, the timescales too vast. We might be one of many, but each civilization might be isolated by the sheer scale of space, forever alone despite being part of a populated galaxy. Islands of thought in a vast ocean of emptiness, aware that others exist but unable to reach them. This is the Copernican principle. We're not special. Earth isn't the center of the universe. The sun is just one star among many. We're likely typical, not unique. If life arose here, it probably arose elsewhere. If intelligence developed here, it probably developed elsewhere. This principle has guided science for centuries, and it's been remarkably successful. Whenever we've thought we were special, we've been wrong. But the anthropic principle offers a counterpoint. We observe the universe from where we are because we couldn't observe it from anywhere else. If life is rare, we had to be somewhere. The fact that we exist on a planet capable of supporting life doesn't tell us such planets are common, only that we're on one of them. We might be cosmically rare and not know it because we can only see the universe from our rare vantage point. These principles pull in different directions, and we don't yet have enough data to know which is correct. What we do know is that the search for life beyond Earth is one of the most important endeavors humanity has ever undertaken. It's not just about finding microbes on Mars or signals from distant stars. It's about understanding our place in the cosmos, about knowing if we're alone or part of something larger. New tools are coming online that will help us search. The James Webb Space Telescope can analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets, looking for biosignatures like oxygen, methane in disequilibrium, or even technosignatures like artificial pollutants. Future telescopes will be even more powerful, capable of imaging exoplanets directly and studying their surfaces. Missions to Europa, Enceladus, and Titan will probe ocean worlds in our own solar system. If we find life there, especially if it's biochemically different from Earth life, it would suggest life arises commonly wherever conditions are right. SETI continues. With better instruments and more comprehensive searches, Every year, we scan more stars, at more frequencies, with greater sensitivity. The odds of detection, while still small, are improving. The search is patient work. It requires decades or centuries of effort with no guarantee of success. But it's worth doing because the question matters. Are we alone? The answer, whatever it is, will shape how we see ourselves and our future. In the meantime, we wait and we listen and we wonder. We send our own signals into space, intentional messages like the Arecibo message in 1974, or unintentional leakage from our radio and television broadcasts. We build and launch probes, like the Voyager spacecraft carrying golden records with sounds and images from Earth, messages in a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean. Perhaps one day, thousands or millions of years from now, another civilization will find one of those probes. They'll decode the record, see images of humans, hear our music, learn that once, in this corner of the galaxy, there was a species that wondered if it was alone. And maybe, if they're able, they'll send a message back or come to visit and find Earth changed or empty or thriving with descendants of humanity. Or perhaps we'll be the ones who find a message, a signal from the stars, faint but unmistakable, a greeting from the cosmos. Until then, we have each other. We have this planet, this fragile blue world teeming with life. We have the responsibility to preserve it, to understand it, to cherish it. Because whether we're alone or not, Earth is precious. Life, in all its forms, is precious. Consciousness, the ability to wonder and to love and to ask if we're alone, is precious. The search for life beyond Earth is, in the end, a search for meaning. It's an expression of our deepest nature as curious, hopeful beings. We look up at the stars, and we ask, and we listen. And in that act, regardless of the answer, we affirm what it means to be human. Tonight, we've traveled from the chemistry labs, where scientists first synthesized the building blocks of life, to the hidden oceans beneath the ice of distant moons. We've imagined life in forms radically different from anything on Earth, built from silicon or thriving in methane lakes. We've listened with radio telescopes, scanning the cosmos for whispers of intelligence, and confronted the haunting silence that Enrico Fermi noticed decades ago. We've asked, are we alone? It's a question without an easy answer. The universe is vast and ancient, filled with more stars than we can count, more planets than we can imagine. The raw materials for life, carbon and water and energy, are everywhere. The conditions that allowed life to begin on Earth exist on countless other worlds. Logic and mathematics suggest we should have company, and yet we see no evidence, no signals, no visitors, no unmistakable signs that someone else is out there, looking back at us across the light years. This silence might mean we're alone, the only conscious minds in a galaxy of empty worlds. It might mean life is common, but intelligence is rare, or short-lived, or self-destructive. It might mean others exist but stay hidden, or communicate in ways we don't recognize, or are simply too far away for contact. We don't know. Not yet, but the search itself matters. Every hour spent listening with a radio telescope, every mission sent to an ocean world, every spectrum of an exoplanet's atmosphere analyzed for signs of life, is an act of hope. It's an affirmation that the question is worth asking, that understanding our place in the cosmos is a worthy goal. We're children of the universe, made from elements forged in dying stars, asking if we have cosmic siblings. That's beautiful. That's profound. Whether we find life or not, whether we detect a signal or confirm our solitude, the search changes us. It expands our perspective. It makes us think beyond our daily concerns, beyond our planet, beyond our lifetimes. It connects us to something larger, to the great unfolding story of the cosmos. If we find life, even simple microbial life on Mars or Europa, it will tell us we're not alone in the deepest sense. The universe creates life. It's a natural outcome of chemistry and time. And if life arises commonly, then perhaps intelligence does too, and the cosmos might be filled with wonders we can't yet imagine. If we find intelligence, if we receive a message from another civilization, it will transform everything. We'll know, with certainty, that we're part of a community. Our philosophies, our religions, our understanding of ourselves will all shift. We'll have so much to learn, so much to share. But even if we find nothing, even if the search continues for centuries, and we never detect a signal or discover life beyond Earth, that too is an answer. It tells us we're rare, perhaps unique. It gives us a responsibility to preserve what we have, to cherish this planet and the life it harbors. It means the future of life in the galaxy might depend on us, on whether we survive and spread or fail and vanish. The physicist Carl Sagan once said that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Through us, the universe becomes aware. It thinks, it wonders, it creates. If we're alone, that makes us not lonelier, but more precious. We're the universe's consciousness, its sense of self. And if we're not alone, if others exist and we someday make contact, then the universe becomes a conversation, a dialogue across the stars, a meeting of minds separated by distance, but connected by curiosity and wonder. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine the stars. Imagine worlds circling them, oceans beneath ice, atmospheres thick with organic chemistry, possibilities we've only begun to explore. Imagine, perhaps, another being on another world, looking up at their sky, wondering the same things we wonder. Are we alone? The question echoes across the cosmos, and the universe, in its vastness and its silence, does not yet answer. But we keep asking, we keep searching, we keep listening, and that, perhaps, is the most human thing we do. If you've found this journey meaningful, if these questions resonate with you, I'd be grateful if you'd consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support allows me to keep exploring these ideas, to keep asking these profound questions, and to share them with you. For now, let yourself rest. Let the wonder of it all wash over you. Whether we're alone or accompanied, we're here, now, aware and alive, part of this strange and beautiful universe. And that's enough. Sleep well and dream of stars.